Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Collusion or inflation of facts. Robert Montague and Dirk Harrison at odds over Integrity Commission report. FSC asks for patience as investigations continue into multi-million-dollar fraud at Stocks and Securities Limited. And later in sports, Reggae Boy squad named for upcoming friendlies. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters, and here are the details. Former head of the Office of the Contractor General, Dirk Harrison, is hitting back at Robert Montague following his statement in the Parliament on Tuesday, accusing him of being biased and unfair. It surrounds a special report into the investigation of the issuing of firearm licenses to persons of questionable character. As Jamaica Maitland reports, one is alleging collusion, the other an inflation of facts.
Member of Parliament for Western St. Mary Robert Montague continues to blast the Integrity Commission following the addendum that vindicated Peter Bunting for his role in issuing firearms to persons of questionable character. Both Mr. Bunting and Mr. Montague were fingered in the report when they were national security ministers. But Mr. Montague is blaming former Contractor General Dirk Harrison.
We are led to believe that Mr. Dirk Harrison stayed on and completed reports that he was working on. The special report laid in March 2022, we believe, was one of those reports.
But in a statement Wednesday morning, Mr. Harrison said while he started the investigation, he did not complete it as the legacy agencies merged in February 2018. Mr. Montague, in an attempt to poke holes in the report, says the former OCG boss recommended that a firearm license be issued to someone of questionable character, which was not mentioned in the report.
The lead investigator and then Contractor General, knowingly in 2010, wrote another letter recommending a gentleman to the Firearm Licensing Authority who has a criminal conviction. This said gentleman is one of the 8 persons under review in the special report.
According to Mr. Harrison, when he wrote the recommendation letter to the then National Security Minister Peter Bunting, that person had no criminal record. Additionally, he was not the head of the OCG at the time. But there's another letter being questioned by Mr. Montague.
Was there or is there a personal relationship between the Honourable Minister and the learned lead investigator and then Contractor General? Interestingly, Madam Speaker, the email was to withdraw the Contractor General's recommendation of a gentleman that he had made a few days before.
Mr. Harrison in his statement says the letter was withdrawn because shortly after the individual left the OCG and the license related to his security issues there. Robert Montague argues that the investigation and tabling of subsequent reports by the Commission are unfair and biased, a notion that seemingly only the government MPs supported.
Jamaica needs an anti-corruption agency. We really do. But we need one that the teacher, the nurse, the police, the army officer, the civil servant, the permanent secretary, and every public servant has trust and confidence in.
The Integrity Commission says there will be no further changes to the report. Jamaica Maitland, TVJ News.
The Financial Services Commission, FSC, is calling for the public's patience as investigations into fraud allegations and missing funds at Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL, continue. There have been public comments, including from the legal team representing Sprinter legend Usain Bolt, for an update on investigations into the multi-million-dollar fraud uncovered at SSL. In a notice in the Gleaner today, the FSC reminded the public that after assuming temporary management of SSL on January 17, it has been able to undertake a major investigation. It's understood that only a few of the affected investors have come forward to provide statements to the police. The Commission says, based on the findings of the investigation, there is now an active and ongoing collaboration with various law enforcement agencies. The FSC says the public will be updated on the progress of their investigations in due course. Former wealth advisor Jean Panton is facing multiple fraud charges arising from the SSL investigations. Now, MP for St. Andrews South Eastern Gillian Robinson is urging parliamentarians to use the parliamentary committees to tackle issues about the operations of the Integrity Commission. Those are the Joint Select Committee and the Integrity Commission Oversight Committee.
I believe legitimate concerns about the operations of the Integrity Committee should be dealt with by those two parliamentary committees. I believe a member who feels he has been wronged and he's well within his right should respond to the Integrity Commission in writing, outlining the missteps and the injury to his character. And I support him on that.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness also urged MPs to avoid the war of words with the Integrity Commission, which reports to Parliament.
I would say to every member that we should not engage in a political cascas, because that is how it is emerging between the Parliament and a body that reports to the Parliament. And if anyone thinks that they are winning, they are leading to the destruction of institutions. And as Prime Minister, I cannot support the destruction of institutions.
Wants the two parliamentary committees to speed up their review of the Integrity Commission Act.
They should meet more frequently. They should review the law with greater depth to make sure that we have a law that is workable in Jamaica. And if there are issues, Madam Speaker, the Oversight Committee should convene and have those issues resolved.
We will not tolerate it, the stern warning from Mayor of Montague Bay, Leroy Williams, to residents and business operators who continue to use the gullies and drains of the parish as a disposal site. Prince Moore reports.
A cease and desist order has been issued to residents of St. James in relation to the dumping of waste in the gullies and drains in the parish. Mayor of Montague Bay, Leroy Williams, says if not obeyed, strong action will be taken against the offenders, to include those who build walls to disturb natural drainage.
I'm instructing the Chief Executive Officer and the Superintendent of Roads and Works to take all necessary steps where this practice is found and to undertake the prosecution under the Parochial Roads Act and all regulations treating with this matter.
He says too often the culprits who dispose their waste in the waterways are left unpunished. The mayor noted that when the waterways are blocked, it is a huge inconvenience to both the motoring and pedestrian traffic in the town. Just last week, a section of the city was flooded due to the blockage of the north and south gullies. There have been urgent calls for the National Works Agency NWA, which has responsibility for the gullies, to clean them. However, the Works Agency says that will not be done until month-end.
We cannot wait until end of June for the work agency to come and clean the gullies. They need to do it right away.
Councillor for the Montague Bay South Eastern Division, Arthur Lynch, believes that with the recent allocations to the NWA, work should be able to get underway.
Gully cleaning all year, and mainly major gullies and Sandy Gully, is $86 million, and these funds are readily available.
Councillor for the St. James Southern Division, Richard Vernon, however, issued caution.
We have to be mindful of the process that NWC uses our, NWA, the National Works Agency, engages in to access the funds. The state that South Gully is in now can't wait until the end of the month. So based on that assessment, I'm saying that the NWA needs to act with some level of urgency and get this area clean, because if it rains tomorrow, if we get the same volume of rain that we have been receiving, over the past 3 days or so, it will flood again.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
President of the Inter-American Development Bank, Ian Goldfine, and World Bank President Ajay Banga are in the island for a 2-day visit. They are meeting with government officials and other stakeholders to discuss priorities and opportunities for collaboration, including fast inclusive growth that boosts the private sector and addresses social gaps. Among the events listed on their itinerary is a tour for Joint Communities Greenhouse Project in Content, Manchester this morning. And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us, more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Tough action. That warning from the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, against business operators who do not ensure their waste is properly disposed of. The issue was discussed on Friday as the NSWMA cleaned up Spanish towns in Catherine. Krista Campbell has the details.
What looks like a recycling site is actually a drain beside the Sagicor Plaza on Marchpen Road in Spanish Towns in Catherine. Scenes like these have become almost commonplace in the old capital, so much so that pedestrians pass them daily with hardly a flinch. The National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, has taken its Clean City initiative to Spanish Town, hoping to target taxi operators, private motorists, vendors, shoppers and pedestrians so they can help keep the town clean.
We have to convince them that they do better business in a cleaner environment. We have to convince them that it is safer and healthier for all when we have a clean space to work in and to do business in.
NSWMA Executive Director Audley Gordon says business operators remain a special concern.
They don't put in place proper arrangement for the disposal of the garbage that's generated by their businesses. We are saying to them, be more responsible. Arrange for your garbage to be transported to a proper disposal facility. Don't give it to the guy with a hand cart who you don't know where he takes the garbage to, like a guy who is demented, might be a guy who's on drugs.
And so the NSWMA boss says the agency is getting tougher on those who continue to flout their responsibility to have proper waste collection contracts in place.
We acquired some new bikes. We are putting our enforcement people on bikes, getting them more mobile, that they can respond in a more timely manner. But we can't put an enforcement officer at every light post. We can't put an enforcement officer in front of every business place. We are writing more tickets as a result of the men on the bike. We have seen where there's an uptick. Is it where we would like it? No. They're just out and we're still watching it, but early signs are good.
Meanwhile, he's urging residents to take personal responsibility as well to properly dispose of their garbage even while traveling.
A lot of the garbage is thrown around Spanish Town and other places. People just walking and just dropping a plastic bottle because they finished the water, dropping a patty bag because they finished eating the patty, throwing things through the windows of cars, throwing things through the windows of minibuses. We are saying to them, stop. Keep it on your person until you reach somewhere where you can responsibly dispose of it. So travel with your waste, not dirty up the place. And by simply doing that, we would have a cleaner Spanish Town. We would have a cleaner Jamaica.
He says close to 100 volunteers helped clean up Spanish Town on Friday. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Businesses in the local tourism industry are being encouraged to get licensed in order to benefit from investment and growth opportunities. Manager in charge of license processing and registration at the tourism product development company TPDCO, Cheryl Lewis, says this is an important process as tourism businesses continue to evolve.
So if your license had expired and you didn't get a chance to renew it before, we ask you to come on in and bring your application in for you to renew. It's important to be licensed because under the Tourist Board Act, you need to have a Jamaica, you need a license to operate whatever you're going to be operating. But then at the same time, you're building brand Jamaica.
She was speaking at the first leg in a series of licensing expos being staged by the TPDCO, which started last week. The next staging will be on Thursday in Portland.
We never had Portland on our list last year, but we have added that because we saw the importance of Portland growing as a destination and where tourism product is happening.
A judge has granted a request by regulators in the U.S. to temporarily block Microsoft's $69 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard. The court says a temporary restraining order is necessary to maintain the status quo while the complaint is pending. And the U.S. Consumer Price Index increased by 4% for the year ending in May. That represents a sharp pullback from April's 4.9% and is slightly below economists' expectations for a 4.1% gain. This is also the 11th consecutive month that inflation has slowed. And that's it for the Business Minute. And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
Health report, we'll look at lung cancer.
What makes it all so difficult? Second-hand smoke. Second-hand smoke is a problem. And a lot of us as women have spouses who smoke. And we are exposed to the second-hand smoke. We get a lot of adenocarcinomas in women because of exposure to second-hand smoke. So smoking, second-hand smoke, smoking exposure.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's healthy living tip. Don't smoke. If you smoke, quit. Avoid secondhand smoke. Include a lot of fruits and vegetables in your diet. And exercise most days of the week.
Time now for the top regional and international stories. Now we go to international stories. At least 59 people drowned when a migrant boat capsized off the Greek coast on Wednesday. 104 other migrants on board the vessel were rescued from the water by the Coast Guard. No one on the fishing boat was wearing a life jacket. And that's it for your international story. And it's now time for a quick break. When we come back, Jordan Fort will have your midday sports report.